What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for another week of Best Bets and Props, where I go over all of my betting action for this weekend's UFC card, which is UFC Nashville, Corey Sandhagen versus Rob Font. This is a short notice bout between two ranked bantamweights, but they're meeting at 140 catchweight this weekend. Obviously, former title challenger Corey Sandhagen, one of the best, well-rounded guys in the game right now in his prime. And Rob Font, one of the best peer boxers in this division, and a guy who's had proven durability and really good experience. So this is a really fun fight, even though the odds are pretty wide on that fight, and I'm pretty confident in one side, which I'll speak on. Still going to be a fun fight night main event. 12 fights in total on this card. Some of these, you can make a really strong case for the favorite or the underdog, and I do have two money lines, two props, and two parlays on this card to make up all of my action. You can refer to my live stream with Narco Cop last night, which was a really good one. Me and Narco always have a good time when we talk fights. We had a lot of live viewers in the chat giving their opinions. And this is the first time this week, guys, that I did not have a full card breakdown where I did my solo show, early in the week. I just ran out of time this week, and it's all going to be on that live stream if you want to check out the details in all of the fights. Even that short notice one with Sean Woodson and Dennis Bazooka we covered in great detail as well. So last week's Best Bets and Props, a historic failure. My first ever reverse sweep in my short 4-year betting career on the sport. And that's, the odds of that are going to go up because these days I'm having less bets than I normally have had in the past. So the odds of, getting, everything wrong. I had 3 money lines last week, I think 1 or 2 props. And the money lines, they all got knocked out in dramatic fashion. Matt Semmelsberger started off strong in round 1 and slowed down in round 2, got knocked out in round 3. I had that dog shot on Claudio Ribeiro. He got knocked out in round 2 after kind of having a nice flurry at the end of round 1. And, of course, the main event, which was a bet I knew was risky on Dustin Poirier. I knew how game Justin Gaethje was, but Dustin Poirier, aggressive early in round 1, looked pretty competitive, and then round 2 got his head knocked off by that big high kick. So at least there wasn't any debate on decision results going our way or not. It was all definitive, decisive, highlight reel knockouts that ended all of my bets that night. So anything is up from there. It was a minus 5.8 unit night, and that is the silver lining to that, is normally I have a lot more betting action. I'm usually between 9 and 12 units on a fight night card, but with this just trying to refine my betting selections recently, I'm having less than I normally have, right? Sometimes you guys have seen 6, 7, 8 money lines in a card where I'm just sniping off small money on each one trying to win a unit in return. If I see an edge, I'll still bet that way, but lately I've been trying to just, kind of look at the value side, refine things, and have just smaller action. So like I said, this week, 6 bets, 2 money lines, 2 parlays, and 2 props we're going to talk about. So all of the recapping out of the way, we can move into the bets, but first hit the like, hit the subscribe. Let's keep the channel growing. I do have a money line bet on the first fight of the night. I'm taking the debuting Kazakh fighter Asu Almabayev to defeat Ode Osborne at flyweight. And I got Almabayev on Sunday night or Monday morning around minus 140. I put just 1.4 units on him to win 1. Using his wrestling game plan that he sticks to early and often in his fights, I was pretty impressed when I taped Almabayev over the weekend. I thought his wrestling game plan and cardio looked very, very good. Striking looked just serviceable enough to work with his hands to distract and get the takedown, get that level change. And he's got very good slams, and he's very position over submission, is Almabayev, until his opponent tries to take a risk, get back to their feet, and salvage the rest of the round and not get held down. Once they give up their back, Almabayev's got a very slick back take, and he can start looking for submissions from different angles there. But I do know that this is a risky bet. Not only is it a debuting fighter, it's the first time Almabayev is coming to the United States and fighting professionally, even though he's had good experience with some UFC veterans overseas and not the worst level of opponents in the regional scene. But still, it's his first fight in the States. Almabayev is a guy who probably has a big disadvantage here in the stand-up. I think Ode Osborne has the explosive power advantage early, reach advantage, a guy in Ode Osborne who's strong for the weight class. But he's not fought a lot of wrestlers if you look at his resume. So I'm going to take Almabayev here. I think he's got a game plan he sticks to, good cardio to last and get better the further this fight gets. And I do like the fact that yeah, this is a skill set that Ode Osborne has not experienced in the UFC so far. So give me Almabayev here, 1.4 units to win one at minus 140. My next money line is coincidentally on another flyweight, and coincidentally it's on another flyweight wrestler. I'm taking Cody Durden to defeat Jake Hadley in this bout. Cody Durden, just a very big underdog here, more than I think he should be. Plus 175 on BetOnline. I put 0.75 units on him to defeat the young prospect in Jake Hadley, who has better boxing, better striking in the stand-up, and he's got better BJJ, but the wrestling offense goes to Cody Durden. And the way I see this playing out, if Durden wins, I think it's most likely by decision. And it's most likely him picking up rounds 1 and rounds 2 and just holding down Jake Hadley and playing safe in side control, or just even just carrying his weight on Jake Hadley, against the cage. Just grabbing that rear waist body lock and trying to force him to the mat and keep on dragging him back down. So Cody Durden, he's got a good ability to just stick to that game plan and even surprise people with his power. Out of the southpaw stance, he's got a nice 1-1-2. And when people think that he's going to go for a takedown, he can come over the top with that big clubbing left hand and cause some damage to them. And he goes right from the strikes right into another takedown attempt. So it's going to be a spot where Cody Durden just has to stay safe. From any tricks in the guard of Jake Hadley, who slaps on a very fast triangle, as Carlos Candelario found out a couple fights ago. But Durden, I think, has got pretty good fight IQ, very strong cardio, but sometimes he can wear himself out in rounds 1 and rounds 2 just by rinse and repeating takedowns. So he's got to get round 1. He's got to try to steal round 2 as well and establish that damage and that, just making Jake Hadley work to get back up and become less dangerous. In case Cody Durden falls apart in round 3 cardio-wise, he can still survive and not slip up. So I think Jake Hadley's got a chance to win this inside the distance, but I think it's Cody Durden who would take home a decision win here. So, like I said, 0.75 units on Cody Durden at plus 175 on the money line. So those are the two money lines, one favorite, one underdog, both flyweight wrestlers. I hope at least one of them comes through. Corey Sandhagen and Ignacio Bahamondes make up my next bet, which is a parlay between these two money lines. Sandhagen at minus 300, Ignacio at minus 200. When I place this for 1.5 units at plus 100, even money odds here. I like Corey Sandhagen against Rob Font. For one, Rob Font is on short notice here. Number 2, Corey Sandhagen, big size advantage and just way more weapons in this fight as well. He's a guy who challenged for the title, had a close fight against Peter Yan, who was another man very well-rounded and can mix in all aspects of mixed martial arts. But that's what I think Corey Sandhagen has against Rob Font here. Rob Font, more of a better pure boxer in this matchup and a guy who's been durable throughout his career. But that durability might be cracked in this bout because even though he was able to outstrike his opponents like Jose Aldo and Marlon Chito Vera, it was clear that he lost both of those bouts because his face wore a lot of damage and he got knocked down multiple times, twice against Jose Aldo in round-defining moments and 3 times against Marlon Chito Vera, who rearranged his face in that fight and used a lot of kicks and things like that to, maintain distance and just wear down Rob Font. Corey Sandhagen has very good jabs out of both stances. He's constantly moving in that weird, like, pseudo figure 8 style of movement, giving you a lot of fakes and feints. And he's got long punches, but he also has big explosive flying knees, very good kicks to all angles, and when you get up close, he can slice you up with elbows, and we see him mixing in his takedowns now as well and slicing up ground and pound with those same elbows on the mat. So I think Rob Font, who is not wearing damage all that well these days, even in a win against Adrian Yanez last time, less than 3 minutes of that win, and his face looked like he'd been in a 3-round fight in a loss at the end of that one. So Corey Sandhagen, I think, could really end this fight inside the distance at some point down the stretch, maybe in rounds 3, 4, or 5, if not winning a dominant decision. So that's why I like him as a parlay piece here. Ignacio Bahamondes, I like. He's 6'3" at lightweight, just a massive frame. Very young guy at 25 years old, still improving, and his kicks are going to be a big difference maker in having higher output in this fight against Ludovic Klein, who's a good kicker himself, but just a little bit undersized. The guy is coming up from featherweight, and he's been successful. Looked good against Mason Jones at the new weight class, but against Jai Herbert, who was a tall, rangy striker, still a little bit smaller than Bahamondes. We saw Ludovic Klein pretty much lose that fight earlier this year, not having the highest output, kind of getting picked apart at range, and even taken down from Jai Herbert in that fight early on. So it was a majority draw. Jai Herbert lost a point in that fight, but still that would have been a loss for Ludovic Klein, who is kind of a hot or cold fighter. Before the UFC, this guy was a massive finisher in the regional scene over in the Czech Republic. Nice high kick knockouts is one of his signature moves, and even some submission potential. But I just don't see him taking down Bahamondes at that high of a clip. Bahamondes, very good mover and has shown good takedown defense. And at range, I think the size is going to be a big problem. So give me Bahamondes probably to win a decision here. I don't think he gets the finish, but we certainly saw him have that finishing ability against a guy like Roosevelt Roberts with that spinning wheel kick. So maybe if Bahamondes found the finish, it would be later in the fight when Ludovic Klein slows down. So just the age advantage, the ability to get better and still have some potential in his growth, and a guy who's got a big physical advantage and output advantage. Give me Bahamondes very confidently to parlay him up with Sandhagen for 1.5 units at plus 100. Now, we talked about how confident I am in Corey Sandhagen for, again, not being on short notice and just having way more ways to win this fight and mix in all aspects of mixed martial arts. So at minus 300, I also parlayed him up with Tatiana Suarez. Now, Suarez is a huge favorite here. That was a minus 350 that I parlayed her up, so it's minus 140. Parlay odds, I put 1.4 units to win 1 in return for Sandhagen and Suarez. And Suarez is at 115, moving back down to this weight class after coming back at flyweight after a layoff and defeating Montana De La Rosa, a fellow wrestler and BJJ player, by submission earlier this year. Now she takes on Jessica Andrade, and Andrade is coming off of back-to-back losses, looking like she's on a bit of a decline, getting knocked out against the up-and-coming Yan Xiaonan a couple months ago, and then also getting a round 2 submission loss against Erin Blanchfield earlier this year in February. So Jessica Andrade, always undersized. I mean, obviously she makes up for it by blitzing in range with vicious, powerful hooks, left and right hooks, even jumping on necks with the guillotine from time to time, sometimes even getting a slam takedown and bullying with ground and pound. A lot of those tools are off the table against Tatiana Suarez, who's a strong freestyle wrestler, very strong BJJ player, has competitive experience in that realm as well. And she's undefeated. All of the momentum is on her side. Way less fight miles and damage taken. I think Suarez is a very strong stylistic matchup. She is so fast at diving on legs, getting the takedown off the cage at a very high percentage so far. And I don't think her stand-up is going to compare to that of Andrade, but I don't think it matters all that much. And Andrade has had a lot of her success under 1.5 rounds. I think 11 round 1 stoppages still at this point. So usually she's getting the job done quickly by demolishing her opponents early in the fight. And as things go on, I think Tatiana Suarez has a very strong chance at finishing this fight by submission. So give me Tatiana Suarez, pretty strong. I know the money line is ridiculous, but I think that it's a pretty good pick this week. A strong stylistic matchup at 115 for maybe a future champion at this point. She already has a win over the current flyweight champion. So to recap, that is a minus 140, 1.4 unit bet on Suarez and Corey Sandhagen parlayed. So we're at 2 money lines, 2 parlays, and now I've got 2 props on this card, and the first one's a pretty simple one to break down. We already talked about Cody Durden and why I think he's a good underdog against Jake Hadley with his wrestling, but I do think he's pretty decision dependent. So I put that 0.75 units on him on his money line at plus 175. I put another 0.25 units on his decision prop at plus 275. That's on BetOnline, and that is on, I believe, Bovada and DraftKings as well. I was hoping to get a better price since, usually you see it on BetOnline early in the week and you can get a better price on FanDuel or something. But all the other books have plus 275 as the top number. So quarter unit on that. I think that is the way that Cody Durden gets this done. Largely dominating round 1 and then hopefully stealing rounds 2 or rounds 3 to snatch up this victory by decision. And the next prop I have is at 170 between Carlston Harris and Jeremiah Wells. The under 2.5 round prop here at minus 175. I put just 1 unit on this prop to see some violence between 2 guys who are very powerful strikers, strong grapplers, and both have submission potential as well as knockout potential. But I think that the groundwork might nullify itself, and we see this play out at striking range, where Jeremiah Wells, we've seen this guy knock out Warley Alves very quickly. We've seen him take the head off of Court McGee very quickly. And he's got a BJJ black belt on the mat should it go that way. So knockout potential, club and sub potential. But Carlston Harris has very good front chokes if he wants to sprawl and defend takedowns that way. And the guy's got a big size advantage, good kicks, and very strong punches. Even though he's got a bit of awkward technique, I think it will be effective against a shorter man in Jeremiah Wells. And Harris has very good output and a good gas tank here. So Both guys have good attributes to end the fight, and they're both very defensively live to eat some punches, in my opinion. So I think there's a good chance that in all aspects, these two have potential to end the fight. I like that under 2.5 at minus 175 for just one unit invested. Even at minus 200 for the fight doesn't go to decision, might not be a bad way if you want that extra 2.5 minutes at the end. But with Jeremiah Wells' explosivity and what we've seen from Carlston Harris in some round one stoppages, I think this might have an ending early rather than later in this fight. So that's all of my betting action, those 2 money lines, 2 parlays, and 2 props. But I do like some miscellaneous plays here. I just didn't get to them. Of course, we talked about how much I like Tatiana Suarez stylistically here, and I like her to win this inside the distance. She's a stronger wrestler, a bigger woman than even Erin Blanchfield, who was able to end Jessica Andrade's night by submission pretty quickly in round 2. Suarez inside the distance, minus 150. More specifically, Suarez by sub at plus 125. And I saw Narco talk about this on his show earlier today, which I like. The fight ending in submission at plus 100 or plus 105. That could be a way. I did talk about how Jessica Andrade has got a very tight guillotine, so if shit hits the fan, you're only paying a small difference between the Suarez sub and the fight ends in sub. Still getting plus money on both if you want to cover both sides and be just a little bit more cautious there, but I think it's largely Suarez getting this done with her strong wrestling and BJJ. But the reason I like the minus 150 inside the distance is because, for one, you're chopping down a huge money line at minus 375, taking that to minus 150 for a likely outcome. But what if Suarez pulls a Shevchenko, uses her wrestling, gets a crucifix, and rains down elbows or something, and it's not really a knockout, but the ref stops the fight by TKO anyways? You could have that minus 150 and be covered any way this fight ends on the Suarez side. So I like that one. I like Diego Lopez inside the distance over Gavin Tucker as well at featherweight here. Plus 150 for Diego Lopez inside the distance. The guy's got very strong BJJ, dives on crafty submissions from any limb he can get a hold of, as we saw in his debut against Movsar Evloev. But he's got strong hands as well. If you watch his regional tape, you'll see some pretty strong boxing. So he's got a knockout ability, a club and sub ability. Gavin Tucker is getting older. He's been away for a long time. And the last time we saw him 2 years ago, he got knocked out by Dan Ige in 20 seconds. So I'm not comparing the knockout power of Lopez to Ige, but it's a lack in the durability of Gavin Tucker. It's a way Lopez could win. So instead of playing him by submission, I like that plus 130 on Lopez inside the distance. Not a bad way to play that. Another violent spot here for Corey Sandhagen, chopping down a minus 300 money line, minus 350 money line of Sandhagen by taking him by knockout at plus 190. I think I saw that on FanDuel or DraftKings. Just again, going over the durability issues in Rob Font that we've all seen in his bouts against Jose Aldo and against Marlon Chito Vera, and just how little ability he's got to handle wearing this damage on his face as well. His eyes swell up quite a bit. He's always getting cut open. That could be a TKO doctor stoppage. That could be any number of things, including just getting knocked out by one of Corey Sandhagen's explosive movements. So plus 190 for Sandhagen KO, even sprinkling in those late round props for Corey Sandhagen, although I think he could get this done inside the distance at any round of the fight. So plus 190, Corey Sandhagen knockout, I like. And last but not least, of course, we have the Billy Q fight against Damon Jackson. So that warrants sprinkling money on the round props. Round 2 and round 3 for Billy Q to get the job done. Plus 450 for round 2, Billy Q, and plus 1,000 for Billy Q in round 3. Things he's done before. He's a comeback fighter. He might get held down by Damon Jackson in round 1. And even live betting Billy Q after that point, if you can get close to even money on him after losing round 1, the guy is not written off after that. He's very good at that weaponized cardio game plan and coming through like a zombie in round 2 and round 3 for the finish against the guy in Damon Jackson who does tend to slow down in the later parts of the fight. So those round props I like. Betting Billy Q after round 1 on the live market I like as well. So let me know how you guys plan to make money on this card. I always love hearing your strategies in the comments below. Trying to bounce back this week personally, but again, if you guys have any disagreements with the picks that I chose, feel free to sound off in the comments and tell me why. I love to hear it. Like and subscribe to the channel, you guys. Good luck in all of your betting action. I'll be back next week to talk UFC Fight Night Dos Anjos versus Luque, a pretty good fight night card. I'll have my full card breakdown, and I will have my live stream next Wednesday with the great Cody from Blood Money MMA Bets. So stay tuned for that one. Hope you guys win big this weekend, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Cheers.